Hello, this is Dr. Zek. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate? And you were wondering whether it is a good or bad use of your hard-earned money? I'm going to give you some 10 advantages and 10 disadvantages of investing in real estate. This is going to help you to make an informed decision of whether you want to pursue investments of that type. And as usual, I'll also be giving you some bonus points for following through the discussion. So if you hear of extra points either side, it is those bonus points that I'm promising. Without wasting time, let's dive straight into it. Advantage number 1, real estate investment is low risk. The reason is because when you're investing in real estate, you are putting your money into something that is tangible. Buildings are tangible assets. They are immovable. This makes real estate a very good long-term investment. Advantage number 2, investing in real estate gives you good cash flow. This is in form of passive income. You get a good constant income that comes without you having to actively working for it. Advantage number 3, properties always increase in value, usually. Of course, there are some exceptional cases during recessions or markets are a bit down, the houses can go down a bit. But in general, property usually appreciate in value. There are 3 sources of income that you can get from real estate. One of the income sources from property is from rental. When you sell the property at a profit, that's another income. And then the third income is capital gains. If you buy a house this year, when you do property valuation in 5 years time, you discover that the houses appreciate in value. It will be way worth more than the value you bought. That is called capital gains. You can actually increase the value of your own property by renovations. Point number 4, you can use your building as a surety to finance other business enterprises. Banks are very good at doing those reevaluations. Advantage number 5, investment in real estate also give you shelter. This is very basic. Every household needs a shelter. So the first investment you might have is your own house to live in with your family. Most of families, they spend most of their income on paying rent. When you are still renting, don't go to the upmarket. Renting a house in low density is a very bad strategy. Why can't you go to high density and pay less rent and use the extra to save it for your own first investment? Advantage number 6 is associated with what I've just also said in advantage number 5. You can use real estate to facilitate your own business. Instead of renting a shop, you can build your own. That way, you will not have to pay rent. Obviously, we all can't start as landlords, but put aside some money to start your own buildings. When you're renting someone's house, you're also building your own. We don't want a culture of generational renters. You're renting, your son is renting, your grandchildren will be renting. Break that cycle and it should start with you. Number 7, real estate can hedge you against inflation, hyperinflation. Usually during recessions or economic downtimes, things deteriorate in value and prices skyrocket. Real estate is very good at cushioning against those economic shocks. Of course, they also lose value during recession, but the value they lose, they normally recover within few years. Measuring against some other assets that can deteriorate in value very quickly, like cars, real estate can hedge you against inflationary forces. Number 8, there are so many tax advantages associated with owning real estate. The taxes that you pay is way lower than the tax rate that you use in other businesses. Paying tax is your responsibility as a citizen. Still, even when you pay that tax, it's just a small fraction of the income that you gain. Number 9, investing in real estate is also a form of generational wealth. I'm a big fan of generational wealth creation, and there's no better way of creating generational wealth than having houses, having buildings, having shops, having lodges, skyscrapers. Imagine if you were born with 5 houses to your name, and what you all need to do is just find a spouse who is responsible. Life will be good. Aim should be to leave something for the next generation so that they will have it easier than you had. Aim to leave the world a better place than you find. Number 10, when you invest in real estate, it gives you a good legacy. You will be remembered for that beyond your death. You won't die, but people will remember you that there's a hero who left 20 buildings for the next generation. Here lies a person who built that community hall. That is legacy. You become immortal. You won't die. So you can choose not to die if you want to. That is the goodness of real estate. Now let's start with the disadvantages. I will be giving you disadvantages and how you can mitigate those disadvantages. That is if you really want to go into real estate. Disadvantage number 1, real estate investment requires substantial amount of capital. It's not an investment that you can do with a $10 or $100 rather. It requires a bit of capital. If you want to start real estate, you can start small. Don't start in leafy suburb. It's gonna take you forever to build it and finish it. So you'd rather high density suburb, buy a stand, or even go to a rural area and start there. Nothing embarrassing with building a house in a rural area. Start by self-sufficiency. You are living in your own house, you save a lot. The first house or the first investment is normally the hardest. Disadvantage number 2 is some terrible tenants. It's possible that in as much as you scrutinize and you vet your tenants, people are not what they seem to be when they are looking for a place. Sometimes people change, or sometimes people show their true colors when they've already signed papers with you. Usually you get good tenants, but from time to time you also get bad ones who will not honor their responsibility of paying rent on time, utility bills, and some people just nuisance, vandalizing your property. Number 3, the risk of being duped. There are some unscrupulous sellers who do double sales, that is, selling one property to different people. It's a bit common in the developing world and less common in the developed countries. You might lose hard-earned cash to some terrible people who just want to make money out of scamming some other people. So to mitigate against that, you must always do your due diligence as much as possible to make sure the papers are in order, make sure there's a title deed, or even a cession, they call it. Sub-book deals in the rural areas. Make sure you follow through them before you even pay any cent. Check all the documents. Check the ownership as well, is very important. Some people sell properties that are not theirs. Check whether the name is theirs. You can use their birth certificate, you can use their ID, national ID. You can also use their even school certificates, O-level, advanced level certificates, just to make sure it is their name that is on those documents. people are doing a lot of forgery. If you are really worried as well, it is better to buy land and build than to buy a complete building. This is because a complete building is normally more expensive than just land. So if you lose, or if you are duped along the way, you lose more, much more. Number 4, property is not liquid. This means that you cannot convert it into money easily when you want it. So when you have an emergency need of some money, you cannot just sell your house or your building and get the money the next day. It can take a year to sell a property, an immovable property. Properties are very difficult to sell. The money is locked up. Even if you want it, you don't have access to it as quickly as you might want it. Disadvantage number 5. I mentioned tax as an advantage, but it can also be classified as a disadvantage, especially when you are flipping houses. You can buy houses and sell. Each time when you sell that house, you have to pay a capital gains tax and some other land taxes that you have to pay to the government. That is why flipping is not a very good strategy. Rental income investment is better because you don't have to pay those capital gains tax, and there are also some other taxes that are associated with selling properties. Depends on which country you live in. Disadvantage number 6. In some cases, you don't own the property outright, especially if you still owe money to that property. Think of mortgages. If you fall behind in your payments, let's say you lose your job, the bank might repossess that house and sell it to recover their money. Disadvantage number 7, timing of the market. If you buy at the wrong time, it might be a big disadvantage. There are some property cycles. If you make a mistake of buying when the properties are at the peak, the houses start deteriorating in value, you lose out. But if you buy at the bottom of the market and the house prices start rising, it means your capital gains is also rising, which is ideal. You have to get that basic knowledge of knowing the market cycles, knowing when to buy and when to sell if you are flipping. Disadvantage number 8, there are some other costs that are associated with owning property. Insurance, running costs, administration costs. You don't just end at paying the price of the property and then you're done. It is more than that. Disadvantage number 9 is when you own real estate, the more you have, the more are your enemies as well. This seems like funny, but it's very common, it's very true. People will hate you for having those houses. There are a lot of legal restitutions that start, a lot of people who start tarnishing your image, jealousy people. The more riches you accumulate, the more enemies you have. How to mitigate that? Just keep doing what you're doing and understand that that's the behavior of people. That should not move you. You should not be afraid of accumulating assets. You should not be afraid of getting rich if you can. If you've got the opportunity, just do whatever you're doing. Disadvantage number 10. In some instances, you might fail to get some tenants. You might be just unlucky that you buy in a poor location. There are so many buildings that are just lying idle. There are some market dynamics. COVID changed a lot of things. Office space used to be very lucrative before COVID. But after COVID, when people start working from home, there's less demand of those offices in towns. So that means the vacancy rate of offices is very high. This is just an example. The mitigation is learn to evolve with time. Market vigilance. Being alert all the times. Being ahead of time. Now I've given you the disadvantages and advantages of owning real estate. What do I think? My verdict: real estate is a very good investment strategy especially if you want to achieve financial freedom and also if you want to create generational wealth. Real estate is the way to go. I am a big advocate of real estate ownership. If you like the content, press the like button and please share the content. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I need more people on the channel, so please subscribe if you want to be notified of similar content coming. This is Dr. Zeg signing out.